Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Raven here. Today we're going to do Eric's solo campaign, episode 6. So, when last we left off, our dad was confronting one of the elders, and we were unconscious back here because we had been given a sleeping poison. And so we will begin with us waking up, and as we wake up in a daze, looking around at the area, everything's foggy, and we start stumbling over ourselves. And as we stumble over ourselves, we end up falling through a hole. And as we fall through the hole, we come into a area that looks like a hallway with cobblestone and arrows lining the walls. And as our vision starts to slowly come to and stop being blurry, we notice that we can't see very far after about 30 feet. So we'll say after about here, we can't see anything because it's completely dark. And then as we're looking around and we notice the arrows on the walls, we try and see if there's any pressure plates or anything on the floor. We don't see anything suspicious, so we're going to continue forward. And as we continue forward, we end up hitting this pile of rocks right here. And as we hit this pile of rocks on accident, tripping over it, trying to catch our footing, the pressure plate that is underneath those rocks is going to activate, and it's going to an 18 to hit. That hits us. So let's do 1d4 to see how many arrows are released. 4 arrows. And so 1, 2, 3, 4d6. 1d6 per arrow. And that is 15. So as we trip and stumble and fall onto this pressure plate, as we try to compose ourselves and stand back up, we get riddled, with 4 arrows. And as we get hit by these arrows, we fall to the ground, barely able to move. And as we fall back and onto the ground over here, we end up landing on another pressure plate, and that is going to shoot out 3 arrows above our head as we fall to the ground. And as we fall and we are in pain, uh, crying. So we will be at 20 health. We start to notice that our body is going numb and our vision is going blurry. And as we try and pull the arrows out and look forward, we notice that in front of us is a massive hole in the ground that stretches as far as the eye can see. And this hole is about 30 feet down, and it has 15-foot spikes all throughout the bottom of the hole, sticking up, that we can see the tips of. And as we notice this, we don't have any rope or a bag or anything on us. So what we're going to try and do is summon our Void's Tigron. So as we concentrate and focus and collect our energy together, our body starts to glow, and then like a light purple color. And as we focus and bring that light into our hands, and it creates a ball, and then we release that ball, and as the ball explodes, it summons our Void's Tigron. And we will then get inside of him, and we will have him climb through this hole like it's nothing, hopefully. So as he jumps down and then leans forward and attaches his claws to the wall and like skids down the wall forward, he gets down onto we get down onto the bottom of the pit. And as we do, we notice that it's pitch black down here, but we are in our voids, so our voids has magical darkness sight, so we can see in the darkness. And once we activate our buttons and turn everything on and activate our scanners, and we can see through his eyes, and we notice that down here is ridiculed with bones of creatures that we've never seen before. They're odd shaped bones. Some look like human remains, but most of them are these weird bones that are amalgamated together. And as we continue to go forward and weave through these spikes, we hit a pressure plate. And as we hit this pressure plate, it opens up a door that is on the side of the wall. So as we're walking, we are dodging through the spikes Tigron ends up stepping on a pressure plate, and as he does, we hear the sound of shifting gears grinding as if they're old and rusty, and then the sound of metal pulling and dragging across stone for about a minute, and then after that, the sound of a loud, um, like chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard, followed by a click, like a locking mechanism locking into place. And as that happens, we control Tigron over to have him look at where we had just heard the sound. And as we look over, we notice this vast open room that is ordained in old paintings of kings and queens and strange small creatures with beards and tall creatures with pale skin and pointy ears. And then on the ground there is a massive mural that is of the twin goddesses of the Fey realm. We do not know this as a character, but as a player and as a DM, that's what it is. And for us as a player, we just notice this massive mural of these two beautifully divine looking angelic beings. One that is like pale white, and one that is deep charcoal black, and they both have pointy ears. And the one with white is wearing green robes, and the one that's black is wearing red robes. And behind them is a magnificently huge tree that has its roots branching to different paths, and the bottom of each root is a whole planet depiction, and each depiction of the planet at the bottom of each root is a depiction of a different planet. And as we are looking around in amazement at all this beautiful ancient art and wondering what is this place and what are all these paintings of, we hear the sound of that door again as it begins to close and lock behind us. And as it closes and locks behind us, the mural on the ground that we are standing on, that we were admiring before getting jumpy and looking over to the door, begins to shake and crack. And from underneath the mural, hands start to appear from out of the ground as a mass of skeletons appear from the ground around us. And these are the skeletons of previous adventurers and townspeople who have come into these catacombs and or have been lured into the catacombs by the elders, like we were. And as these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as these 6 skeletons all come up, they are all going to immediately use all of their combat points to attack us. So each one of these will have 3 attacks because it'll be spending 1 combat point per attack. So let's do, that's a 14, that's a miss, because while we're in Tigron, his armor class is 18. That's a 1, that's a miss, and that's a 6, that's a miss. So as the skeletons are coming up out of the ground, trying to grab at us, the first skeleton, we're able to move our leg back just in time for him to not get us. But as we move our leg back, let's see if that makes us step into any other attacks. That is a natural 20. So we will do a critical hit, which is maximum dice, maximizing the dice, and then doubling it. So it's a d6. So we will maximize it. So it's a 6, and then we will double that. So it's a 12. So Tigron will take 12 damage, putting him down to 36. And he's going to use a combat point in reaction to use his claw attack against the skeleton. That's a 6. He misses. And so the skeleton's going to continue grabbing at us with its second combat point. 17. It misses. And a 5, that misses. So as we step back from the first skeleton and try and adjust ourselves, our back foot steps on another skeleton as it grabs us to do that first initial attack. And then as that happens, another skeleton will burst through the ground, and as it bursts through the ground, we move our leg and dodge out of the way. And then as it gets out of the ground, it starts to crawl towards us and swipe, and it misses. And then as that happens, it gets closer and it trips over itself, and it falls, and it hits its head on our massive giant paw, dealing 6 damage to itself. So it will be 42. And then as that's happening, the 4th skeleton is going to make its appearance and try and clamp onto our tail. That's a hit. So it gets us and it clamps onto our tail by for 5 damage. And as it clamps onto our tail, we are going to use a reaction to try and fling it off of our tail. So we'll do just d20 rolls. Let's see, and with d20 we've got a +2 to our strength. So we'll do, okay, so that's a 10, and then the skeleton got a 11. So as we shake our tail, the skeleton keeps its balance, and it keeps a hold of us, keeps clamped on with its arms and chompers. And so it's going to go for its last attack, and it's going to just try and like hit us. And it's too focused as it tries to like lift its hand, one arm off to hit us. It loses its balance, and so it grabs back a hold real quick, and that's how we end up missing that attack. And as that happens, we are going to use a combat point to use a claw attack on the one that we already attacked to try and defend ourselves a little bit. And that is a miss. So as we come down with a sweeping claw, we hit the skeleton and it breaks apart. And then as it breaks apart, it just like shambles together and reforms itself in between our claws as it looks up, cocks its head sideways, and then its jaw clampers up and down like it's laughing at us. And as that happens, the 5th skeleton will appear. And the 5th skeleton is going to try and get onto one of our back legs because they're going to try and tip us over. Nope. And he tries to grab our leg and realizes that our leg is way wider than his arm width, and so he is like, let's try something else. And he is going to pull out a rib bone from his body and try and stab at our leg. And as he does, that's a 2, by the way. As he goes to stab our leg, the bone just shatters in his hand. And as it shatters in his hand, he takes 2 damage from the bone fragments shooting and ricocheting into his own eyes. Well, eye holes, eye socket holes. And then he's got alright, and then as that happens, the 6th skeleton appears, and he will try to help the 5th skeleton get our back leg. That is a 14 as he goes to swing with his rusty old sword, and it just clangs off of our metal and organic body. and then he's gonna get like visibly angry and try and swing again, and the same thing happens. He hits, but this time he hits it so hard that his sword bends and dents inward. And then this time he gets really mad and he starts to like focus, and in his focused rage he notices the joint in our leg, and he goes for a thrust and he stabs us right in the leg joint. And as he stabs us right in the leg joint, we let out a ferocious roar as he hits us for 5 damage. And then, and did that? Okay, that time it worked. And as that happens, it is now our turn again. And so we are going to get really sick of this really fast, and we are going to use our gravity attack. And so all 6 of these creatures are going to have to make a 15 roll, a danger save of 15. On a success, they will take 10 damage. On a fail, they will take 10 plus 12 damage for a total of 22 damage. And they will be knocked prone until the end of our next turn. So let's see what the first one gets. Oh, that I accidentally rolled 2. Let's see. Okay, so that's a 14. So he fails. He takes 22 damage. So all right. And then let's see, as he is slammed to the ground with this energy of gravitational force that we've unleashed like a force field around our body. And the second one, he got a 10, so he will also take damage, full damage. The third one got a 9. He will take full damage. Fourth one got a 14. Full damage. The fifth one got an 18. So he only takes the 10 damage. And the sixth one rolled a 1. So he got a critical fail, so he takes double damage. So we'll work backwards real quick. He takes double damage for 44, leaving him on 8 and knocked prone till the end of our turn. He takes only the 10. And he's not knocked prone until the end of our turn. This one takes the 22. Oh. this one takes the 22, and this one also. So, and as that costs 2 of our combat points, and then we are going to use our last combat point to let's see. Let's look at our character sheet real quick. Let's use a roar attack. So, everything in the area that can hear, which nothing is, none of them are deafened, so they can all hear, takes 10 plus our highest ability modifier damage, and then they have to make a save. On a successful save, their eardrums are burst, they become deafened, and they take our highest ability modifier extra damage. On a failed save, their ears don't burst, and they don't take the extra damage, and they're not deafened. So let's see. 1, that's a 14, that's a fail. 18, that's a succeed. 12, that's a fail. 2, fail. 6, fail. And last one, and 11, fail. So, once again, number 5 is the only one that succeeded. And so this skeleton is now shattered to pieces by the reverberation of our roar. And then the rest of these skeletons, this guy only takes 10 damage. But the rest of these guys take 14. Because our highest ability modifier is a +4. So that one. And then. And as we let loose this massive cacophonous roar that is so loud that it literally shatters one of the skeleton's bones into dust, the ceiling begins to shake. And as the ceiling begins to shake, rocks begin to fall from the ceiling. And we are going to roll a d6 to see how many rocks fall. Right now, 3, and we're going to roll 3 d20s to see if any of the rocks hit us. 1, 2, 3. None of the rocks hit us as they all fall around. And now every round the ceiling is going to start to collapse in on itself more and more. And as this happens, the skeletons all start to look around, and they look up at the ceiling, and they begin to chuckle and laugh with their jaws clittering and clanking. And as they do this, and we look up to see what they were looking at, all of the skeletons disappear as their magic is, well, we'll not say disappear, we'll say they drop to the ground lifeless, as their magic that's controlling them gets lifted up into the ceiling where they were looking. And as we see this happening, we see two deep red eyes. And as we see these two deep red eyes, we notice that inside this cave, guarding whatever is in here, and probably the thing that ate those people, is a creature of some kind that is so big that its eyes are as big as our entire body. And as we notice this, I forgot to do something real quick. Size is as we look up, we begin to hear the sound of yawning. And as we hear the sound of yawning, and we intensely stare into these deep, giant red eyes that begin to blink sideways and have a diamond shape to their pupil. We start to remember of a creature that our father had told us about in our storybooks. Oh, what was it called again? Oh, yeah, that's right. A dragon. And as we come to this realization, we see a mouth open. And as the mouth opens, we are engulfed in a breath of fire. And this fire breath is a 15d6 plus the dragon's 10 for its highest ability mod, for 57 damage as the dragon awakens and incinerates Tigron. And as Tigron's body is starting to burn and heat up and melt, Eric is trapped inside, screaming for his life as it gets hotter and hotter, as his skin starts to stick and melt to the metal and the flesh, and then ever so abruptly, everything fades to black as Tigron explodes, and everything goes dark. Thank you all. This has been Eric's solo campaign. I hope you all enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and share for more. And I hope you join us on our next adventure.